everybody. Welcome into another edition of the North Jackson Press Mountain Valley News 2019 Pigskin Preview. Numerous technical glitches. This is actually take 3. Maybe we'll get everything going this time. Coach Don Jacobs of the Scottsboro Wildcats joining us today. And Coach, again, thanks for coming into the studio, and maybe we'll get through this time. Go ahead, again, talk a little bit about your offensive and defensive philosophies as a head coach.
Well, you know, this day and age, the offense is run by what the talent that you have. And, you know, we've had years that we've had good quarterbacks, years we've had good running backs, years we've had good offensive line. And, you know, some years we've been fortunate enough to have all of them good. But, you know, you've got to be able to adjust your offensive philosophy to be able to cover the kids that you have. And,
right.
You know, in our offense, there's a little bit of spread, there's a little bit of wing tee, a little bit of power, a little bit of zone, 4 wide passing game, sprint out, bootleg, waggle, power pass. You know, there's a multitude of things that we have in our arsenal, but it still comes down to what all our kids will allow us to do. And you take the same philosophy on defense because, you know, some years, you know, you're bigger, you're faster, you're a little quicker. You know, maybe on the defensive scheme wise, you have smaller kids that, you know, you need to go after them. You need to get after the quarterback. And you know, we have we have 4-man front, we have 3-man front, zone blitz, straight blitz, out of both fronts, man free, you know, cover 2, cover 3, robber, double robber, you know, bracket coverage. I mean, there's a multitude of things that we have in our arsenal, and it still comes down to our kids.
You said something a minute ago in one of our previous attempts at this, talking about kind of being an attack guy on defense. You know, that's your philosophy. And, of course, I know a lot of people, Scottsboro people know that you played ball at Alabama. You talked about getting kind of that philosophy from Coach Bryant.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that Coach Bryant stressed, college coach for 23 years. And, of course, you know, it still comes down to the same thing. You've got to be able to stop them from doing what they want to do and make them do something different.
Right.
Well, guess what? Every snap, the ball is handled by the quarterback. So, you know, the first thing you got to do is you got to defeat the quarterback. Yeah. And that's, you know, one of the things of defeating the quarterback. I said one of the things is coming after him and blitz. And, you know, it's kind of like a baseball pitcher that's out there and he's got a great fastball, but he's also got a great changeup. So you got the batter off balance. Well, you got to do the same thing to the quarterback.
Yeah.
You got to come after him, and then you got to drop them all, and then you got to come at him from this side, and then you got to come at him from this side, and you got to come at him from the middle. So you got to keep him on his toes and try to change his rhythm, because a lot of times, particularly in this day and age, when good quarterbacks get hot, I mean, you better hang on.
That's
because
true.
You know, you got to do something different to give him a different look and get him confused. Maybe he holds on to it one more second. Maybe he gets rid of it a little bit too early. Whatever the case may be, but you got to change his rhythm.
Yeah, that's true, and we see that especially with these offenses nowadays that are so much more focused on the quarterback and what he does. You know, if you can create that disruption at the line of scrimmage, that makes everybody else's job easier, make him uncomfortable.
Well, it does, you know, and a lot of folks, you know, have gone to the wing tee, and particularly in North Alabama, which is more of a running offense, and you know, and you got to take the same approach to that offense as you do any other offense. I mean, you got to give them different looks. You got to be able to change the front. You got to be able to change where you're coming from, and so it really, you know, it does pertain to the quarterback, but at the same time, it also pertains to the whole team.
Right. Well, now you're going into your 3rd season at Scottsboro. How, by this point, I'm sure you've got your offenses and your defense obviously fully installed, but more than that, you've got kids in your program now that they've come up with it the last couple of years. They're used to used to what they're doing. Of course, we always talk about a kid that knows what he's doing. It makes him a step quicker because he doesn't have to think.
Right.
Going into this season, talk a little bit about your takeaways from last season. Of course, I know record-wise, not what you wanted, but
well, last season, we started off the year, played Fort Payne, won a non-region game, and won it 26-13, and played Ardmore the very next week, and
35-7.
I don't know I can't remember what the score was, but it was 35-7, and we felt good going to Guntersville. And got over there and just really did not show up and play. Of course, we also had 17 penalties and they had 3. So I'm not saying that the officials had anything to do with it. But I was a bad coach that week. But the very next week we come back and played East Limestone and we had 1 penalty. So I did a great job of coaching against East Limestone. But our kids played really well against East Limestone. They beat us 28-13 or 14 or whatever it was. And then came back the next week and did not play, didn't even get off the bus against North Jackson. I mean, it was 59-3, and but we still had a chance the second half, and all we had to do was win 3 out of 4 the start of the second half, and we beat Madison County, we beat Arab, lost to Madison Academy 34-26. And then we go to Brewer, and all we got to do is win the ball game, and we're in the playoffs. And it's 3-3 at halftime. And once again, we didn't show back up the second half, and that's my fault. I'll have to take the blame for that one. The other factor that goes into that was we were going to end up being the 3rd seed playing Southside in the playoffs, and they were a wing T team. We were pretty good against the run. We weren't very good against the pass, and that was one of the things that we were really looking forward to. But anyway, it didn't happen. We ended up 4-6, and I wasn't very happy. So we made a bunch of changes in the off season. We changed our weight program. We changed our conditioning program, our speed training. We changed everything that we could possibly change. We changed.
Right.
Everything but coaches, and if we go 4-6, they may change some more coaches. So.
Well, you had a little bit of a shake-up there. I know you.
Well, we did.
Coach Hammond went to section. Was there any other changes?
Well,
on your staff?
Coach Vincent, Pat Vincent, left and went to Fort Payne. Of course, he lives 2 minutes from Fort Payne, right down the road, and they hired his wife, and now they got the whole family down there at Fort Payne. And like I told him when he came in and told me that they called him and talked to him about going to Fort Payne, I said, "Cuz I can't change where you live now." I said, "If I could, I'd keep you here in Scottsboro." But anyway, we lost him, and Coach Drew Davis, who was our defensive line coach, he got out and went to work at TVA. So we've had some change in the coaching ranks, and that's not a bad idea either. Right. Like I said, the next change is going to be the head coach.
Well, let's talk about graduation losses in experience. Now, I know you lose a kid like Bradford Womack, 6'2", 268, offensive line, All-State.
Well,
those are kind it's hard to replace.
And the great thing about Bradford was he was going to be a Alabama-Mississippi participant. Had already been drafted and schooled up, got his jersey the whole 9 yards, and he got hurt against Brewer. Started the second half and tore up his knee again, and matter of fact, it was his other knee, tore up his other knee, and so we lost him for the second half of that ball game. And but anyway, he was a tremendous leader for us. He played center and nose guard, and just an outstanding young man. Matter of fact, he's left for Auburn yesterday, so he's going to be successful. There's no question.
Well, now you was talking about experience, and I know I got your roster here, but I know at this time of year these things can change. They fluctuate. I know how that goes. I've seen that, but your current roster showing 16 seniors, 9.
We had a big sophomore class, and first couple games we didn't play very good, and I said, look, we fixing to build this thing, so we started putting the sophomore guys in there. And,
Right.
Matter of fact, our tight end, number 22, A.J. Weegan, we started him on offense because Brody Hyde, which is now senior tight end, had messed up his elbow in a skiing accident. Well, when Brody came back at game 5, we put A.J. on defense, knowing good and well that he was going to be a defensive player to begin with. So we had a lot of sophomores. Matter of fact, all 3 linebackers this year are seniors. They've been playing for this will be their 3rd year of starting and playing. And Noah Limble, who is a junior, he's been starting since he was in 9th grade. Jacob Manning, who is a junior, has also been starting since the 9th grade. We have 2 sophomores right now at corner, Gavin McCrary and Caleb Dupree, and so we're trying. We got a pretty good mixture right now. We've got a senior, Riley Whitehead, who has been a corner. We just moved him to safety this spring, so he's got some experience, and the 2 corners have some experience, and all 3 linebackers, and of course up front, Hunter Wright is at nose guard. Forrest Hancock, who is also a senior, he's at the end position, and Nathan Jones is also a senior. So, we got 3 seniors, 6 seniors, 7 seniors on defense, and we got 4 returning guys that, and like I said, all of them have played. So, from a defensive side, we're in pretty good shape.
Well, that's got to make you feel comfortable as a coach, knowing that you've got some leaders out there that can coach those other guys up and help them. That's a lot better than having 11 guys out there that don't have a clue what they're doing.
Right. They've heard the same verbiage every year since their sophomore year, and they know how we practice, and they know how we get prepared for games.
Right.
And it's been very helpful. And one of the big things that we wanted to see with all this change was we wanted to see the reaction of the kids, and the kids have really been fired up, and we've had a great off-season program. We had 48 out of 57 to have perfect attendance this past summer. So as long as you can get them to show up, you got a chance to get better. And one of our incentives is if you show up for 100% of our workouts, and there's 26 of them, if you show up for 100% of them, we put your name on the back of your jersey. And of course, everybody wants their name on the back of their jersey, so it's really worked out to be a pretty neat deal.
Well, those are the kinds of things too that speak to the character of your football team,
Right.
And I'm sure you'd agree that's something that's harder to coach
Well,
than
it is
football.
It is, and we probably have to give some mamas and daddies some pats on the back too, because they got them up and drove them there at 6 a.m. in the morning. So,
well, talk about now. Who did you guys play in the spring? I'm sure you had.
We played Huntsville High in the spring, and matter of fact, Coach Fleetwood and I coached together at Troy for a number of years, and when we were both in college, and when he got the job at Huntsville, he called and said, I don't have a clue who we're going to play in the spring game. I said, well, we're hunting one. I said, if you're interested, I said, let's play. And
well, talk about the spring overall, how you felt about your spring practice and of course the game with Huntsville.
Well, we changed our offense a little bit. We moved Jacob Manning to quarterback, and we're still spread. We're still doing the same things that we're doing, but now we got an athlete back there in the back that's he's a threat to pick up 4 or 5 yards just by making one guy miss. And this spring defensively and offensively, our biggest concern was just go compete. And every day Coach Vinson would give us a different look on defense, and our whole spiel was just go compete, just go play as hard as you can play for as long as you can play. And when we played the spring game, Huntsville, I understand they're a 7A team and we're 5A, and I get all of that, but our kids competed. I mean, we got beat 14-7 by their varsity and our varsity, and then their JV beat our JV by 2. So whichever way you want to look at it, we had a great spring. The kids competed, they had fun. Like I said, this is the first year we've scored against Huntsville, so undoubtedly we're doing something right because we scored.
Yeah, absolutely.
And had it down there a couple more times and failed to miss. We missed a field goal, but we failed to score down there late. But we had an opportunity.
Right. Well, I can tell you, I just looking for a mental edge. If I had a quarterback whose last name was Manning, I'd put his name on the back of his jersey, whether he showed up for every practice or not,
Well,
just for the intimidation factor. Just make them wonder.
He did show up every time. Matter of fact, he's a junior and he's not missed a day since his 9th grade year. He's made of the right things. He's got a great heart. He's got a great character. An outstanding young man, and he loves to compete. And that's the thing that when we moved him to quarterback, I said, look, I understand your skill set is not quarterback, but what we want, the ball in your hand every snap, and we're going to make this thing work for you.
So going into this season, you feel, from what you said, you feel kind of good about where your team's at this point?
Well, I feel good about our heart, and I feel good about our character. And as long as we take care of the little things, the wins and losses will take care of themselves. Our region is fairly tough. East Limestone, Madison Academy, Brewer, Gunnersville, Arab has a new coach.
Well, just run down those one by one, because that's what we're getting low on time, and that's what we always like to end up with. Take a look at your of course, you've got 2 big games that are rivalry games that's outside the region that we just can't neglect. You open up with Fort Payne, that's a big Cross Mountain rivalry, and then also in week 5 you've got North Jackson. You can comment on those if you want to.
Well, the Fort Payne Scottsboro rivalry has been going on for a lot of years. And matter of fact, Coach Crabtree, who we just hired from Fort Payne. They got Coach Vincent, and we got Coach Crabtree. Imagine that. But
y'all just traded.
Yeah, we just traded. I mean, it was a trade deal. But anyway, his dad and I played against each other a long time ago. Matter of fact, we played Fort Payne in 1977 spring, and I think the score was 21-21 for a half.
Wow.
Ain't nobody stopping anybody now. So anyway, we played them at home in Scottsboro in '76, and we beat them 35-28. Whoever had the ball last was going to win that ball game. So that rivalry has been going on for a long time, and they've had some great players, and Scottsboro's had some good players, and so it is very important. They do have the Big Cat trophy that they pass out at the end of the game, and we reclaimed it last year, and hopefully we won't have to give it up this year when we go back to Fort Payne. But then the next week we play Ardmore at Ardmore. Then we come home for the first time against Gunnersville, and I think it's a whiteout or a blackout game. I'm not real sure, but Gunnersville's always been good, and they've always had a good, solid program. Then the next week we go to East Limestone, and Coach Pugh he does an outstanding job over there, and always got good players and good athletes. And then we come home and play North Jackson game 5. Then the next week we go to Madison County. We've kind of had Madison County's number the last couple of years, but they always seem to sneak up and beat somebody early in the year. They beat Etowah 2 years ago, 17-7, and of course Etowah gets beat in the I think it was quarterfinals. They get beat in the quarterfinals, so they were a good team. And then we come back and we got Arab for homecoming. They have a new coach. Lee Osmond has left Oxford, and now he's back at A-Rap. So, I mean, he's got a bunch of kids out, and they've changed the offenses. Last year they were wing T. This year they're going to be a little bit more four wide and two backs. And, then the next week we play go-to Madison Academy. Bob Godsey, who used to be at Hartselle, and Bob and I have known each other for 2,800,000 years, has taken that job at Madison Academy, and they're always going to have good players. And he runs a good program, and they're going to be solid, and they're going to be sound. And then the next week Brewer comes to us, and hopefully we're going to take care of business and hopefully be set and ready for the playoffs. But we still got one other game. We got Hartselle coming to us week 10, and that was another one of those questions. Have you lost your mind? They're 6A and you're 5A, and it's right before the playoffs and all that. But my philosophy has always been that if you play up, that your kids will play up, and they'll get better as opposed to playing down. And I don't want them to breeze through this thing, take the week off. I want them to go prepare. And Hartselle's always had a good program, and they're rock solid. So.
Well, and you too, I noticed when I was kind of getting my stuff together here for this, you're in a 8-team region. You have 7 region games.
Correct. That's
got to be a little bit tougher. I don't know how many of those there are. I know most of the coaches that we've dealt with has six region opponents.
Well, I mean, you got to win 4 ball games. You don't really care where
That's
they come
true.
from. You got to win 4 to make it.
Yeah, well, I guess that makes it easier. I'm thinking from an injury position, but yeah, you got an extra game to win that 4th game. So, I guess I'm just looking at it in the wrong light. Well, Coach, listen, we appreciate you coming in and talking with us, and I've got to say you've got a good mastery of your schedule. I didn't have to. I usually read these teams off, and then they'll comment on them, and you just breezed right through it.
This is not my first interview.
I can tell that. Yeah, that makes it easy on me. But anyway, we do appreciate Coach Don Jacobs of the Scottsboro Wildcats for coming into the Mountain Valley News North Jackson Press studios. And that's going to do it for this edition of the 2019 Pigskin Preview.
Building your dream home is one of the great joys in life. At First Southern State Bank, we know construction and mortgage financing, putting today's low rates to work for you. As you and your family move closer to the completion of your new home, we know that your home is where memories are made and families grow stronger year after year. At First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, Scott Kirk stands ready to tailor the right construction loans to meet your needs, along with our staff of experienced loan professionals. Drop by to share your dreams with us today in Rainsville. First Southern State Bank in Rainsville, all the bank you'll ever need.
Folks, this is Andy White down here at Bobby Ledbetter's Twin City in Fort Payne, Alabama. I want to invite everybody to come out to our new location. We're at 1411 Glen Boulevard, right where you turn to go on Airport Road. We've got plenty of inventory for you to choose from. I got cars, trucks, vans, sport utility vehicles of any make and model. Come down here and visit us. Let us see what we can do for you. If you got some slow credit, I've got some banks that'll take care of that. We've got great financing, got a great selection of cars. Y'all come down here and see us.
Don't take the first deal that comes along when you can do better at BobbyLedbetter.com and Twin City Used Car Sales, located at 1411 Glen Boulevard in South Fort Payne.